It is said to be one of the happiest moments in a woman's life. Welcoming a new baby. But what happens when instead she feels sadness, disconnection, and resentment?
9 months I water.
That was the case with first-time mother Janella Precious.
When the nurse gave me the child, my mood changed. Everything changed. I think for the first time in my entire life, I felt that I didn't have control. No, there was no instant connection. I was more like, okay, what am I going to do with this thing? It was horrible. I mean, I look at her now and I go like, wow, I can't believe I actually went through this.
Mama cry if your daughter.
New mothers who feel like Janella could be experiencing what Senior Registrar in Psychiatry for the St. Catherine Health Department, Dr. Jordan Eaton, says is Major Depressive Disorder with peripartum and postpartum onset.
Peripartum refers to depression that occurs during pregnancy, as opposed to postpartum depression specifically refers to depression that comes in that 6-week window after birth and delivery.
The disorder may result in enormous suffering and disability and reduces a mother's ability to attend to her baby's needs. Feelings of anxiety and frustration, unexplained crying, loss of appetite, difficulty sleeping and bonding with the baby are some of the associated symptoms. This is not to be confused with what is called the baby blues, which Dr. Eaton also explains.
Baby blues is usually associated with hormonal changes, just sheer exhaustion, emotional burnout, psychological stress, all of those things. And you feel sad. You feel overwhelmed, you are tearful, and this is a normal process. Usually, though, those symptoms are self-limiting. They're not very intense, they're very sporadic, and they may last for days to weeks, but as time goes by, they get better.
The World Health Organization estimates that 20% of mothers in developing countries experience clinical depression after childbirth. But did you know that men can also experience depression after a baby is born? Meet Phil, a new father. We've changed his name and distorted his voice to protect his privacy.
There are points where I used to just shut down and just, kind of leave him to cry, and his mother would come and take him, or I would, give up easier than I should have. I wouldn't say I neglected him, but it was just like I could have been doing more. Like I saw myself doing nothing, knowing that I should be doing something, and I'm just there frozen. He's crying, screaming, and I'm just like frozen. Like I don't want to be here.
Dr. Eaton confirms that men can have depression after childbirth.
And for him, it wouldn't be because of the hormonal changes, but it can be because of the distress that your partner is under. The distress of being a new father, the sleep deprivation, the acclimatization, and just being overwhelmed. It is quite possible to have depression with postpartum onset for men. It's unusual, but that is technically what the diagnosis would be.
Phil thinks the unexpected pregnancy triggered his depression.
I think a lot of it was probably down to the fact that this was not something on our short-term objectives. So when it happened, I think it was a shock to our system, and maybe subconsciously that played into it.
A 2005 study in Jamaica showed that 56% of healthy pregnant women polled experienced depression during pregnancy. That's 1 out of every 2 women. Now, 1 out of every 3, or 34%, experienced depression after the baby was born. So, what are the contributing factors? Dr. Eaton explains.
With the peripartum and postpartum period, there are additional factors at play, such as the hormonal changes. Blood loss, for example, during birth and delivery can precipitate depressive symptoms. Vitamin and mineral deficiencies can precipitate depressive symptoms. Thyroid dysregulation, which you can see in pregnancy, can precipitate depressive symptoms. There can be other things. Some women will develop pregnancy-induced hypertension, meaning you become hypertensive while you're pregnant. And one of the first-line medications that we use, because it's safe, is Aldomet. But one of the more common side effects of Aldomet, it can precipitate depression Or if you already are at risk for depression or already have depression, it can worsen those symptoms.
He also revealed that depression can be passed down through generations.
There are a couple conditions that we know have strong genetic predispositions. Depression is one of them. Anxiety is another. Schizophrenia is another. What this means is that there are specific gene locations in your DNA that can predispose you to development of certain conditions. They're just genetically susceptible that when they are particularly stressed, they, by nature of their genetics, are predisposed to developing depressive symptoms.
Dr. Eaton listed additional factors that may increase the risk of depression.
Poor perceived social and partner support, partner infidelity or perceived partner infidelity, exposure to violence, and financial difficulties. Other possibilities, maybe there was prolonged labor. Maybe baby has a complication and needs to be hospitalized. Maybe you had a complication and needs to be hospitalized. Maybe you're a single parent and the gravity of everything is now setting in. There are multiple factors that can make a normally well-adjusted and balanced person tip over into depression.
If left undetected and untreated, depression may lead to more severe conditions like postpartum psychosis and can result in desires to self-harm, abandon, or hurt the newborn. This was Jamila Pinto's experience.
For me, I definitely thought about self-harm. I remember one day I just had enough. And I want to clarify that it's not a matter of not wanting to be here, meaning on earth or have life. It's just a matter of you not being able to manage the pain that you're going through. So you're trying to escape that pain.
Phil remembers one day wanting to harm the baby.
There was just a specific day when, in trying to deal with him, it just got too much for me. I was like, what if I literally just took the air out of you?
And Janella Precious.
There was an incident where she was on the bed and, I realized that she was going to fall and I just allowed her to fall. And my mother ran into the room and she's like, what's happening? I was like, I don't know. I didn't care. I remember also my mom used to say, you need to walk her. And I live on the 4th floor of a building. And I wanted to just throw her over the balcony. I just always had those thoughts of wanting to hurt her, of wanting to give her away